Welcome to the wonderful, well, not really, world of Downbelow. Our role-playing game about a cyberpunk dystopian future. It's really not that wonderful to live in, but it can be fun to play. I'm Ian.
I'm Steve.
Today we're going to tell you about yet another new campaign style that you can do in this world. What's it today?
Well, previous editions have started with the Enforcer, moved on to the Rebel, and last time we talked about the Agent. This time we're going to talk about the Gumshoe.
Ooh, private detectives, or is this more of a just general mystery?
Well, mystery is a, let's start from scratch on that because I stumbled over my own words there. The thing about mysteries is mysteries have a place in pretty much every setting in the Downbelow system. That's why we haven't really mentioned a specific mystery setting just yet, because all of the above are, frankly, boring without some sort of mystery to solve.
Basically, finding out what the heck's going on is a part of pretty much every story.
Right. The Gumshoe, on the other hand, is, if not necessarily a licensed Sam Spade-style private investigator, the Gumshoe is saying that this campaign is focusing around people who are searching out answers to questions. This is an investigative campaign. This is or possibly a phase in the campaign where the primary thrust is, here is a conspiracy, here is a case, here is people are coming to you to solve their problems, but not solve their problems through violence, solve their problems through information, and solve their problems through figuring out what's going on.
So this is equally suited to a group of PCs who are crackpot conspiracy theorists, or people who are like a Silent Hill protagonist searching for a lost person, or what have you.
The point is, though, that this is not called the crackpot conspiracy angle, because what's less likely is it's unlikely that our Gumshoes are going to go off in a reactionary sense. Our Gumshoes are usually going to be fairly proactive about finding out what it is, and our Gumshoes are not necessarily going to resort to crackpot-style violence when they are up against insurmountable odds. They're likely to try to put their faith in the idea that knowledge will win and that violence is sometimes necessary but often regrettable. This is kind of the noir side of the original cyberpunk noir pitch for this system.
And in fact, in most Gumshoe-oriented stories, violence will probably be what results when you fail in your actions, because if you'll notice, Sam Spade gets beat up a lot.
Yep. So, let's talk a little bit more about what a Gumshoe campaign would look like. With a Gumshoe campaign, the players have to have some sort of reputation as problem solvers. They might get this in the first adventure out the gate, or they might have this coming into the campaign. The second is the characters have to have some sort of home base. This could be a physical home base. The example in fiction is something on the lines of Sam Spade having his office, a place that people can go to hire them. This might actually be more of a metaphorical home base, a place where they're known to operate, and as such, information that will get them investigating can be dropped there, because, as I should have mentioned, well, that leads to Part 3. Part 3 is alternately the client or the cause.
A table at the park where they could be found playing checkers.
Well, not quite. Because that's the metaphorical part. That would be a physical home base. If they have a table at the park, then the client can locate them there. So let's talk about the difference between the client and the cause. The client is something that kicks off most classic hard-boiled film noir stories. This is the dame with legs that don't stop, walking in like a bad idea and saying something. Whether that's actually directly related to what the case ends up being is tangential, but it's the client that kicks it off by getting the player characters involved. Anytime that they are hired, tasked, or otherwise influenced to start by a person, that's a client. A cause, on the other hand, is still something that finds them, or sometimes something that they find, but a cause is something that's more of, like I said, the metaphorical home base. Let's say the metaphorical home base is these 3 city blocks that we all call home, and the cause is businesses keep on shutting down without warning, and the proprietors are nowhere to be found. After they stay vacant for a few weeks, they are repossessed and bulldozed. Well, there's a cause, because there's something potentially fishy there, and that can motivate the player characters in the Gumshoe sense to start looking into what's going on. Buy-in is very important if you are doing either the client or the cause, because really with the client approach, if multiple players especially, push back and say, yes, we don't want to take this case, we'd rather go bowling, then that is a surefire way for resentment if you have the case catch up in a non-skillful manner. Skillful manner is another thing, because there's plenty of room for, we turned down that case, but it found us anyway, if you handle it deftly enough. With the cause aspect, on the other hand, the buy-in has to be there because the cause is often going to seem like coincidence and contrivance to people who aren't really bought in. The truth is, yes, it is contrivance, it is coincidence. It is literally literary coincidence that the right players to investigate it happen to be at the right place at the right time and stumble across something that piques their interest. But with buy-in, that coincidence is rolled into the story because in the real world, people happen to be in the right place at the right time, and that's how mysteries get solved. So, that covers it for a lot of the basics of the Gumshoe and the Gumshoe campaign and how that's different from simply sprinkling mystery to taste in any other campaign. Mostly, in a Gumshoe campaign, it's literally about the mystery or mysteries that the players are investigating.
And it's specifically focusing on characters who are well-equipped to investigate those, who for some reason believe that solving the mystery will bring some kind of solution to their problems.
Yep.
So before we sign off this episode, could you give me a quick, one sentence or one paragraph answer to what is an example of why the players and their characters might believe that finding the information will solve the problem for them? Just give us an example.
I'll give you a
like
couple of quick examples. In the case of a client, the answer is actually very easy because in the case of a client, you are approached by a person or an organization who is looking to induce you to do the investigation. This could take two forms. The first form could be the client is offering something that you need, whether it's money to pay the bills. Sam Spade was usually influenced by I need to eat, drink, and pay rent, or whether it is stuff that you need, or even just favors that you need. That's the induced by offering something you already need. Finding the information for the client would get you something that you need and get you out of that problem. Alternately, the client could try to coerce you into doing something, at which point getting the client off your back would satisfy a need of, I no longer have a gun pointed at my family's head, for instance. On the flip side, let's talk about the cause. In the case of the cause, the first question is why. Once that question is answered, that will lead to how can we solve this problem. And even if the actual answer to how can we solve the problem turns into something very direct, something not information, the process of getting there is a process of investigation.
And with that latter one, that's how we might transition into another campaign style from Gumshoe, because you can always transition campaign styles if it's appropriate.
And in both of these cases, as mentioned in film noir, often what happens is that the initial case is not what ends up being investigated. Look no further than the Maltese Falcon for that. It's really not about the bird at all. On the other hand, what happens as you get deeper into the webs of investigation, entwinement, and favors will itself cause the focus on information to be rewarding, because as you go, you find out more. And as you find out more about what makes these things click, that is its own reward, and that keeps the story going.
All right. Thanks for falling through the cracks with us.